Hey Joey, what can you tell us about this airplane?
So this is the original Charlie model M20C, one of the first Moonies they made. And when Al Mooney designed the original one, he designed it to do exactly one thing. It needs to go as fast as possible on as little fuel as possible. It is not designed for takeoff and landing performance, useful load, legroom, comfort, anything. It is designed for absolutely nothing except to go fast. So this one has a carbureted Lycoming 0360, so it's 180 horsepower. It's the same exact engine as like a November model 172 or the newer Mike model 172s, but it's about 30 to 40 knots faster in cruise, and they do that through a couple of ways. First of all, they swing the gear and they made a constant speed prop to give you better cruise, and where you really make up the power and the speed in this is the descent, because you can walk that throttle all the way forward in the descent, walk the prop all the way back, and as long as you don't over square it, you can do all but full power descents, especially up here. The landing gear mechanism on this is the lightest of really any certified airplane at the time. The gear doors are massive. When the gear is down, it does a couple of really weird things with it. So the doors are so big that when the gear is down, if you stall, the yaw stability is incredible. It's like having 2 extra vertical stabs. It's not swept at all, and if you look at a side view of it, it's perfectly symmetrical. So it only works through Newton's third law. There is no high pressure, low pressure system on it at all, so it generates a lot less lift, so it makes a lot less induced drag. One downside to that is the ground effect doesn't really have any impact on it because it's making so much less lift. You can hear it clunk because everything in this airplane is pushrod controlled, including the trim. There are no cables anywhere in this airplane. It is 100% entirely pushrod controlled, and the flaps are slotted, but perfectly smooth. And they did the same thing back here. An odd Mooney feature, and it's about the only one I've ever found on any airplane, is normally when you have a stabilizer and an elevator, it's shaped like an inverse airfoil, and if you have a stabilator, it's symmetrical. This is a stabilizer that is almost perfectly symmetrical. It's got a slight reflex shape, but it's so thin and narrow, it's light. Everything on this airplane is light. It's much lighter than a 172 originally. The rudder is tiny, and I've never actually found an aerodynamic reason for why they slanted the tail forward. It's not actually pointed forward, it's perfectly vertical. If you look at the back, there is no trim tab on it. So when you actually trim the airplane, if you look, you can see the seam, it's right here. You move the entire back end of the airplane up and down. And it's incredibly light. And if you look here, that's the push rod for the rudder. The step is retractable. Normally, like in a 310 or something like that, it's electric and it goes with the gear, and there's a gearing mechanism to make that happen. If you watch the step, I'll show you how it works in this one. There is a crank in here next to the pilot side. It's genius. It's a brilliant, brilliant design. The flaps are so incredibly long, and the reason that they do that is because they can have a much shorter length, so it's lower drag. Cowl flaps are rounded out so that when you bring them up, they perfectly meet the exhaust. So when you do bring the cowl flaps up, it's entirely flat. They have, if you look at the landing gear, another way that they keep it light is it's only braced on one side, and they have those little rubber donuts. So it saves you the need to have these big heavy struts because it's just rubber donuts. It's incredibly stiff. It's very, very bouncy on the ground. You'll feel any bump in the runway at all, but they're not electric, they're not hydraulic, they're not cabled. It's push rod controlled through a gearbox and a handle. So cowl flaps are here. You close them and you open them. They don't move a whole lot. It's the only certified airplane that only has one method of lowering the landing gear. There is no emergency backup. You push this button in, you slide this down, and it takes roughly 40 to 50 pounds, depends when you lube it. You pull this and you slide it all the way down and you lock it into the floor, and it locks into this mount right here. And you physically bring the gear up by hand. You pull it and it pulls on a bunch of gears through a gearbox and it brings the gear up. The flaps are relatively similar. You're gonna take this and you're gonna pull it all the way out. You're gonna pump this and you pump them down by hand. So all you do is you build the pressure, you read this little indicator, and then you relieve the pressure and they all come back up.
Interesting.
Trim works like any other plane. It's down here. It's notably sloppier, but that's because it's run through push rods all the way through. The step that we showed earlier is over here. You crank it 2.5 times in each direction to lower it. There you go. Fuel selector's all the way down here. I'm extremely tall and I can't reach the pedals at all. So the seats slide up so far because your legs extend, but I have almost no headroom. So they built the airplane like a luge. You kind of lay down, everything is very reclined to try to lower the airframe so that you can have a smaller area. And if you look at the back seats, they just point them up. They lean them up so that you don't need as much legroom to make the airframe shorter. Normally you get 90 degrees. If you look at this, you only get about 45 to 50 in either direction for a full scale deflection.
Oh, wow.
And you can see the push rod. Right there. And how that linkage connects, it goes through a push rod down here, and then if you take any of the belly pans off, you can see all of the push rods. And to save weight as well, it doesn't have brakes on the right side.
And you still have a 6-pack in here.
Yep, it's got a 6-pack. You have 2 glide slope capable CDIs, which is excellent. 2 nav radios, that's it. There is no DME, but if you're getting vectors for an ILS, it's perfect.
And these radios are super, by the way. They might look like antiques today, but when I was younger, people would die to have a radio this good.
The KX155 is a fantastic radio. It also does have ADS-B in through the transponder, so it does have traffic maps, and you get a nice little traffic light here if anything happens. A lot of people belly these airplanes in because if you don't lock this all the way in, this button will come out, it'll feel like it's locked, and there's a trigger switch in there. And that's how the plane thinks the gear is down. So I can have the gear up, stick my finger in there and wiggle the switch, and the light will come on.
Wow.
So you have to really grab it and shake it with some force to try to see if the gear is actually down. Otherwise, they'll almost fully extend, you'll land, and then they'll fold back in.
Not good.
No, so you got to make sure it's locked in. But it's almost impossible for the gear to fail. I've never read any case of the gear failing with the mechanical gear system.